I didn't say speakers, I said speeches.
They're the same height.
Is there another battery in there, Mommy?
No, one's taller.
I don't know how I got put on here. I don't know, put me on the spot, but that's all right.
This one is almost dead.
We're twins,
No,
so
no, the gray one.
we look alike. But I feel very proud that they did ask me to come up and say, when the boss, Saul Goldman, was looking for him, we had to keep telling him that he was over in the PAB, in the files or whatever, where we all knew he was up somewhere in the mountains. It was a hangover, I believe. But we made it through. And Ray and I have been kind of together for a long, long time. And it was just great working for him. Now, Ray was the MC when I retired, for anybody who was there. And he was great. He was really great. We carried him out of... but it was great. Now, I felt it appropriate. He had given me a few things at my retirement party that I felt really belonged to him. I mean, they were his personal belongings, but it was nice of him to give them to me. So I'd like to kind of give them back to him. The one thing I forgot, Ray, I'm sorry, I forgot the ring dings for you today. But he did give me this couple of things, and they were his. And I really would like to give it back to you, Ray, because Ray was on the Controller's Department softball team, I believe. And this was his actual jersey. Probably going to be worth a lot of money someday. Just get Ray to sign it, but it's Controller's Department. It obviously wouldn't fit me, but I think it'll still fit Ray. And Ray, this was yours, so you should have it back, and maybe everybody can sign this also for him.
Here you go. We should put this down in the cafeteria next to the...
Good pride.
One other thing Ray had given me when I retired, which I'd really like to give back to him, he gave me quite a few things, but this was one of them I really feel he should have back. It is real nice Port Authority tie, and you should really have it, Ray, because it is so ugly. You should have this, so I want to give it back to you. You know. And Ray Jr. over here about it. And, it was a real good time. So Ray, the best to you, and I know everybody's going to miss you around here, and it was really fun working with you. Good luck to you.
I have to tell you, there weren't this many stains on them.
You never were, right?
Actually, it's you know, this is the official Port Authority tie. I have to tell you a funny story about this. On Friday, a week ago, my last day at work, I thought it would be very cute if I wore my other Port Authority tie. And I stopped in to talk to Ron Shifton about progress on sealing it. And so he chuckled as he looked at my tie. He said, "Is that the bird?"
I'm actually very honored that I was asked to say a few words, and I'll try and keep it to a few words. But Ray and I go back a long way, almost 30 years. We grew up in the Port Authority together, and I guess I learned last night that I didn't realize how good a friend I was. I mean, he took my wife to the movie last night. Actually, Ray and Maura and my wife did go to the movie last night. We have not only worked together, played together, we're part of the Rockland Rack Pack together, but grew up in the Port Authority together and worked in a lot of the same places. And, you know, it's no understatement, as Dick said, when he talks about generosity, and he certainly doesn't mean in a financial sense, I can attest to that. But Ray has given so much to this organization and so much to so many of us, particularly myself, who he's worked with for many, many years, and fortunately always make me look good. And I always had the good fortune to be surrounded by terrific people who always made me look good, and I thank you all for that. But Ray, I was thinking last night, and I said, you know, friend, neighbor, colleague, personal friend. We grew up together. We traveled together. We served on the IMA board together. And after all these years, we still talk to each other. And it's a tremendous tribute to Ray, because I think it's so indicative of his personality, his spirit. I was thinking about, you think about characteristics of an individual, and I guess the one that I can best describe Ray with is he's emotionless. No matter how bad things would get, Ray would sit in my office, and the worst I could ever get from him is he'd take off his glasses, he'd rub his eyes, and I'm sure you guys know this, who worked with him closely, rub his eyes and say, "Really?" He would give me the impression that he agreed with me. And then, I'd run into somebody like Barry, and Barry would say, "Did you talk to Ray?" And I said, "Yeah, I talked to him. He agreed when he was in my office." But Ray has a way of intellectualizing a conclusion. Smart guy, smarter than I'll ever be. And you think he has agreed with you, and he'd leave your office, and 2 days later you'd say, "Ray, did you do that?" "Yeah, but John, that's not really what they wanted." "But Ray, I was there, you weren't." He says, "Yeah, but I know what they wanted." Where does he get his energy from? Three places: caffeine, nicotine, and sugar. Ever go into his office like a candy store? Very, very dependable. Never disappointed me. I'm sure he never disappointed any one of you. And again, the word generosity certainly is a word that is very characteristic of Ray. Bob Boyle tells me, though, that Ray, being a lifer, a Port Authority lifer, 31 years, is it 31 years? Finally got the best job in the Port Authority. He was accountable for nothing and responsible for everything. Ray, let me end by saying that on behalf of all of us, certainly wish you and your family well in the future years. I know I'll see you, and I'll see Maura, and I'll see the kids. And I've watched all these guys grow up from when they were, as they say, knee-high to a grasshopper. And it's wonderful not only that you have this extended family here in the Port Authority, but also such a wonderful family to go home to. And we wish you well in your retirement.
Unlike some of the other speakers, I don't remember what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to have to look at my notes, if you don't mind. I first met Ray in 1978, over 20 years ago. However, it wasn't until June of 1983, in Houston, Texas, of all places, that I really got to know Ray. It was over lunch during a break in a conference we were attending that I saw for the first time the character traits that have made Ray so effective over the course of his career.
I was nice to you on this.
I'm going to be nice to you, Ray. What? You have no faith. And I still remember that lunch 16 years later because I learned a lot about Ray and about what it takes to be successful. Ray chose the location. And therefore, lunch was burgers and beer. And that was lesson number 1 in my afternoon's education. The benefits of being approachable and not pompous. Watching and listening to Ray that afternoon, I saw someone who was generous, a risk taker, unafraid to try new things, and someone who could motivate others to perform their best. And perhaps most important, I saw someone who could strip away distractions to focus on the most important elements of an issue. In the years since then, I've seen those character traits over and over. Ray was always approachable, equally comfortable speaking to mayors or accounting clerks. He was always generous with his time, perhaps more so than Maura would have liked, but a blessing to those of us at Port who needed him. He is the most creative risk taker that I've ever worked with. And he inspired all of us that worked with him to give our best because he never settled for less from himself. No matter whether I was working with Ray, for Ray, or whether Ray was working for me, one thing was certain. He was always thoroughly knowledgeable, consummate professional, who could absolutely be depended upon to get the right job done and to get the job done right. And most importantly, the words "not my job" were never in his vocabulary. What makes these occasions, these transitional moments in life important, is not solely what a person does, their work accomplishments, but it's the relationships they've developed in the process. In the best cases, retirement is as much a celebration of those relationships as it is work accomplishments. And when I look at the faces here and the affection for you, Ray, when I listen to what they say about you, when I recall our own history together, I believe that your greatest accomplishment has been the positive way you've touched so many people's lives. You've been mentor, counselor, teacher, and above all, friend. I know that eventually I'll probably forget what we worked on together, but I don't think I'll ever forget how great it was to work with. I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I want to wish Maura and your family and yourself health and happiness. And I want to give you a small memento from that lunch we had so many years together. A lot of people in this room that didn't want Ray to leave the Port Authority, and I'm at the top of that list. Small consolation, some solace to us, is Ray started to leave 4 years ago. He came to my office about 4 years ago and he said, "It's time for me to leave." I said, "Well, why?" He said, "It's time for me to leave." I said, "How about staying another 6 months? The Port Authority needs you." You know that Ray laughed, "Oh, the Port Authority doesn't need me." Well, he agreed to stay. And we repeated that ritual 6 months for the next 4 years until last Friday, and then it ran out. Right?
That's right.
Ray was one of the most important hires the Port Authority has made in the past 30 years. And he was hired by accident, and I'll tell you why. There was an unwritten rule in the personnel department, handed down from Austin Tobin, that if we were going to hire anybody from a Catholic college, it had to be Fordham, St. John's, or Manhattan. And Ray is from Notre Dame. We'd never hire anybody from the Midwest. I don't know how this happened. I could only speculate that when Ray came in, there was a less than attentive personnel rep. We looked at Ray's background, saw he was from Brooklyn, and assumed he went to St. John's. Nobody from Brooklyn goes to Notre Dame. So he was hired. And 30 years ago, he started his career. Now, I first noticed Ray, not because of his brilliant financial mind, which is unquestioned, because there was a guy who walked around the halls and went to meetings without a jacket. Now, in those days, you had to wear your jacket in your office. And Ray walked into meetings without a jacket. So, who is this person? That's Ray Mannion. To make it worse, in the summer, he wore short-sleeve shirts. This was the traditional old Port Authority. For a while, I didn't think Ray owned a suit. I never saw him with a suit. But I think what that typified was his fiercely independent nature. That independent nature which would have him debate an executive director, commissioner, chairman of the board, if he believed the interests of the Port Authority were not being advanced. Let me underscore that. The interest of the Port Authority. That's been Ray's guiding principle for the past 30 years. There have been many loyal people who have worked for the Port Authority, but none more loyal than Ray Mannion, and I've known them all. I'll give you a very recent example. 2 o'clock this afternoon, I get a telephone call. It's Ray Mannion. He's coming out of the shower. He says, "I heard something in the news where the FAA is criticizing the Port Authority. What happened?" I said, "I don't know." He says, "Can you find out?" Get dressed and come to the party. Ray's contributions to the Port Authority are manifold, but I still go back to what's in the Port Authority's interest. If Ray felt that you were not acting in the Port Authority's interest, get out of his way, because he could be a terror. He's made many, many
major contributions to the financial area. And it was through his creative financial mind which has made, I believe, the Port Authority a financial powerhouse. Ray taught me that those decisions that accountants make really add to the bottom line. And Ray taught me to slide those expenses off on the leases. Everybody? And those accountants in the room know what Ray has done and what Ray has created to make this agency so strong financially. But there's more than that. Ray is a true friend to anyone who needs one. He's a true friend to people in finance. He's a true friend to people outside of finance. And he's a true blue friend. He's with you in good times. He's with you in bad times. You can always be counted on. And I'm fortunate to count him as one of my friends. Bob Boyle recognized his extreme financial talent when he made him senior financial advisor a year ago, and Ray has really helped in negotiating this war, if you will, between what's capital, what's expense, what belongs to this state, what belongs to the next state. We're really going to miss him. Talked him out of leaving for 4 years. I just ran out of time. I thank him on behalf of Bob Boyle, on behalf of all the directors who have worked for the Port Authority with him and before him. Those of us who have spent a lifetime in this organization know that we owe him a great of gratitude for what he has accomplished and what he has meant to this organization. And those that come after him will owe Ray a great of gratitude, even though they will never know him. Congratulations, Frank.
Before I took the shower and heard the radio, I thought it'd be good if I sat down and typed up a few notes in case I had to do some speaking tonight. And I did, and I made the mistake of showing it to my wife, and I should show it to you. By the time Maura got finished with it, she said, "No, you don't want to say that." And she scratched it out and started penciling in. I said, "Well, you look like me." So anyway, by the time she got finished, there was thank you and goodbye. And I'm not going to do a whole lot more than that, but listen, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I know everybody's time is valuable. Frankly, I thought it was long overdue for the Port Authority to have a really good party, so I hope everybody's going to stay. Now that I'm retired, I'm not getting up tomorrow morning, so I'm going to be here for as long as anybody would like to be here. What Lou was saying, and I actually tried to put down on a piece of paper, is my own thoughts about the Port Authority. I think those of you who I've worked with over the years know that and this is sort of crazy to say, but I love the Port Authority. You know, and that's strange to love an institution, but it's true, I do. I take it personally when the Post or the Daily News or anybody criticizes the Port Authority. I resent the fact that an outsider dare criticize what we do. I don't think I'm alone. I mean, I used to do that. I still feel that way. I think I'm going to feel that way 10 years from now, because I know how hard you people work, how hard we all work to make this place work. I think almost all of us have truly noble goals, which is why we're here so long. Employee, it's probably up around 20 years, and at 20 years, it's, hey kid, you know, wait till you're here a while. Why are we here? Why do people work at the Port Authority? Why do they work the way that they do? You know, I don't know, love's not, I'm sure that's not the right word, but it's something. It's something. It's something that's in all of you. When you talk about taking things personally, I remember at the bombing in the Trade Center. I mean, I took that personally too. It's like, how dare whoever that was that did that? And when you think, there were thousands of our employees that put this place back together in a matter of 2 months. I think they all took it the same way too. So in this day, even when we're having battles between the governors, and I said this to a few people last week, forget about it. We're going to get through this thing. By the time October comes around, nobody's even going to remember what the battle was about. And the reason that that's going to happen is because you guys continue to do what you do so well that this place is going to be will continue to operate well, It's got, you deliver a pride in an organization that's just outstanding. I have to tell you, I don't think over 30 years that I couldn't wait to come to work in the morning. I mean, I don't remember a day that I was bored. And if I was bored, anybody that I was working with was in trouble because you were going to find a whole lot of work to do that day. But we're going to get through this. In fact, Ron Shifton confirmed before that Sealand announced, they had a press conference today, they announced they're staying in New York. They're not going anywhere. So the first part, perhaps, I think perhaps the first part of that battle may be over, and reasonable heads will prevail, and by the time we have the May board meeting, about 200 board items that have been will go whooshing through, you know. It's almost like the company got an enema. You're up and running. I'm not going to belabor this. I sincerely, I had a great time here. The people, you guys here, are what makes the company as great as it is. Certainly, you're what I'm going to miss. But, you know, life goes on. We got to keep moving along. I mean, hell, this year, Michael Jordan retired to go play golf. You know, why can't a bookkeeper from the Port Authority do the same thing? So anyway, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being around me. It was my pleasure for 30 years. I enjoyed it. I'm going to miss you. And I really want to thank you for being here tonight. And especially, again, I want to thank both commissioners for being here tonight. Thanks again.
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of everyone here, we'd like to give you a little transitional gift to help you with your golf game. Thank you.
You know, I forgot to say this before. I want to thank Sue, Gladys, Sheila, and by the way, congratulations, Gladys got promoted this last week. For all the work that they did on putting this thing together, and of course I have to thank Henry. Now, you know, whether you knew it or not, what Lou was inferring before, Henry is actually the guy who hired me. And Henry gave me my first lesson. In those days, if you were looking for a job, you looked in the New York Times, got out an ad, and there was this job for an auditor at the Port Authority. So I came in and I applied for an auditor job. By the time I left with Henry, I wound up taking, he talked me into this, to taking the lower paying and lower rated position of accountant 1. Now I'm sure Henry, you know, whatever they do down in HR, he probably got a reward for screwing it over. But I learned my first lesson that everything you do with HR is a negotiation.